They said you were the best in the Parsec.
Podcasting is a complicated profession. Don't you agree? Welcome to
Parsec Passion.
A episode recap and review of Disney Plus's brand new Star Wars show, the first ever live Star Wars show, The Mandalorian. My name's Bubba, and with me is somebody who has broken a blurrg. It's Catfish. Catfish, how you doing?
Oh, I am doing delicious today, Bubba. I'm very excited to talk about this show that released. There was a lot of scuttlebutt that a lot of people weren't able to get it. I was able to get it on my for the first 10 minutes, my iPad on the airport, and then I got it on my iPhone on the BART train, and then I watched the rest of it on my laptop. So basically, I guess I was blocking all those people from watching it.
Man, let people watch it, dude.
I'm sorry. I apologize. But we have important business.
We do. We're going to be breaking down a brand new Star Wars show. The first ever live. I mean, I keep saying the first ever live action Star Wars show. $100 million Disney has spent on this. And I have to be honest, let's go ahead and say the buzz is pretty good. Now, we're going to begin this episode the way we begin every episode, and let's just get to it. Catfish, what is your ranking out of 10 for this very first Season 1, Episode 1 episode of The Mandalorian?
Well, I was going to go with double Bs.
Wait, double Bs?
Yeah, which we all know is blurrg busting. That's what you have to do when you've got a wild blurrg. But instead, I'm giving it 9.55 double Y.
Double Y?
Yeah, Yowling Yodas.
Aw, how cute.
I know, they're adorable. How do they survive if they're basically rely on other people to take care of them for up to 50 years, and it looks like more?
Well, it's because when they do potty training, there is no try, do or do not.
I thought maybe it was the sad eyes. Even Mandalorians are suckers for those sad eyes.
Yeah, these hard-nosed bounty hunters are getting turned by that cute little baby. Catfish 9.5, real quick. That is one of the highest ratings you've ever given anything. Obviously, you can only do 0.5 more. Give me your initial impressions as you watched it.
I love it. I love the whole world. I love the action. I love the comedy of it. In fact, I was going to give it 10. You know, I do always, though, for first episodes of things, usually give higher because the world is before me. They can do anything. It's only in later episodes where I'm like, well, they didn't do some stuff. But the only reason I sort of ding it is reasons we'll talk about later, and that is the sets look great. The fighting looks great. The makeup looks great. The music is amazing. And yet, in some of these cases, their naming conventions come straight out of a fifth grader's brain. Their naming conventions for animals, their naming conventions for money. I mean, they got to try harder. So that's the only reason I dinged it. We'll talk about those things later. Almost hilariously ridiculous, some names they come up with.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Let me go ahead and say that, give you my ranking. I was like you. I'm going to go really high. I'm just a bit under you. I'm going to give this 9 double C's out of 10.
Double C's?
Well, when you're on a desert planet, you could see some cooked crumbs, a.k.a. cooked salacious crumbs, a.k.a. Kowakian monkey lizards, like Salacious Crumb, the hilarious puppet who was Jabba's laugh man, hype man from Return of the Jedi. Him cooking on the spit was hilarious. But in this specific case, I'm talking double C's in classic callbacks. If you know those original movies, there were so many callbacks. Very early on, there's this thing called the Garridian, which is a creature we saw in New Hope ever so briefly on Tatooine, pointing Luke Skywalker and our heroes out to some stormtroopers. So they had to get on the Millennium Falcon before the stormtroopers caught him. So this creature here in The Mandalorian is playing a flute and trying to get the Mandalorian a speeder to his ship out on the ice. I love that. There were gonk droids. There were familiar aliens like a Rodian, which is the Greedo creature, Weequay, which we saw in Return of Jedi, a lot of them. We had the Gatekeeper droid from Jabba's palace in there. There are too many to mention, and I'll mention more as we go through it. Classic callbacks. This show, 9 out of 10. If I was 13-year-old me, right, this would be the number one show on TV. I would give it 10 out of 10 because I'm an adult. And even watching it, I thought, is Pedro Pascal's voice work really right? Is this score in this particular case really right? But as I was thinking that, I had a big, stupid grin on my face the whole time. 9 out of 10, so great. This really is incredible. And listeners, I hope you're excited to join us.
I am so excited. Disney is so smart that they do this. I literally just wanted to watch the rest. I want the rest of the season right now. I want it all. Just shove it in my brain right now.
It'll come. Disney's going to start releasing these every Friday. Our podcast will come out every Monday. So you've had the weekend to watch it and digest it and then listen to our reviews. Please, if you're listening to our voice right now, subscribe to Parsec Passion on any and every app. We need people to subscribe on multiple apps. We need to get the word out there. We always ask you to follow us on Twitter @PHQ, to talk to us on Facebook, facebook.com/PHQ. But for a brand new podcast like this, the only way anybody's going to find it is if you leave reviews on the specific site that you subscribe to it and download it. We're going to be giving away some sort of Mandalorian prizes at the end of this season. And to be eligible to win, we're going to give it to you, double L's.
Double L's?
Loyal listeners who help us out right here at the beginning by giving us reviews. Apple Podcasts, it's so important to give reviews. So not just leave stars, but to write something. Write anything. Write Baby Yoda. Write spoilers. We just need anything you want.
Delicious. And if you have a specific character or species from the entire Star Wars canon that you'd like to see on a spit, tell us that. But sorry, I'm just going to give one. We'll start off. Ewok. Obviously, Ewoks on a spit.
Well, Chewbacca in The Last Jedi, he did a porg on a spit. If this was like Thanksgiving and I had to feed everybody, maybe a hut on a spit.
I mean, I don't know. I assume that there's good marbling on a hut. So that is a bonus.
Hey, Catfish, because we do love our Double L loyal listeners so much, why don't we get to some great feedback we've already gotten from them here on release day, November 12th, 2019. We got this great note from David Gobert, who said he has subscribed and downloaded the Disney Plus app the night before, and he can't wait for us to grace all the Double L's with some Double M's.
Double M's?
Mandalorian Madness. Heck yeah.
That would also be a good name for a podcast. Maybe better than Parsec Passion. Now, our buddy Peter Connolly, so far away but so near and dear to our hearts, says, do you have to have watched all the movies before watching? I've only seen the first 4.
Yeah, Peter had seen the original trilogy, went to see The Phantom Menace when it came out. He was so disappointed he hasn't watched another movie since. Oh.
I'm so glad that you said that because I was so curious what he meant by the first 4. For example, if he saw episode 1, episode 2, and episode 3 and was like, yeah, and then he saw episode 4 and he was like, oh no, that would be very bizarre.
Well, Catfish, what do you want to answer this question? Do you believe you have had to watch like the prequels or the more recent movies to understand what's going on? I do not believe so.
I don't think so either. I mean, there's a lot of things that you have already said that you picked up on that I didn't pick up on. I think sort of it's value added. I think everybody knows who the heck Yoda is. Although, curiously, I don't think I ever realized this before. And I was reading something today. Is it true that we don't really know what Yodas are called? I mean, Yoda's just Yoda, but presumably there's a species, and I have no idea. Like, we know Chewbacca's a Wookiee. but I don't know what Yoda is. Do you know what Yoda
Catfish,
is?
you are getting to it. This is a big part of Star Wars expanded universe lore, and it goes back to Founding Father. It goes back to thank the maker, George Lucas, who is very specific with all those people making comic books and writing novels and doing auxiliary material. He did not want anyone to reveal what Yoda's species is. And so that's why it's real funny. People are writing Baby Yoda, and people are like, I thought this series took place after Return of the Jedi. It does take place after Return of the Jedi. We're calling him
Right.
Baby Yoda because we don't know what species it is. But, oh, man, was that awesome at the end. So great.
So definitely right. So I'm glad I was going to make that clear. This is definitely not Yoda. It might be, one of Yoda's mistakes.
Yoda wear protection.
Yeah. Yoda condom no like Yoda.
Do or do not. There is no try with my baby mama. Wait, Yoda.
All right, well, I'm going to read this one from a very intelligent and sharp listener, Sean Gregan at HeyRef. And I'll tell you why. I know he's very sharp because he says, I'm pretty much with Catfish on the ordering. He's talking about our preview podcast when we did our own personal ordering of it. Some people may not have had access to it because Apple is so upset that Disney Plus is stealing all their thunder that they blocked our podcast until the very last moment of our preview podcast. But he says Sean Gregan's ordering is Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope, Rogue One, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Revenge of the Sith, Attack of the Clones, Return of the Jedi, Ewoks, bah, Phantom Menace, Jar Jar, bah, and he has not seen Solo.
Sean, I would encourage you to see Solo. It doesn't have Ewoks or Jar Jar. I think you'll be okay.
It doesn't. I think if you go into Solo with lowered expectations, you will enjoy it. I think there was too much going on there. And again, you just have to forget Harrison Ford.
Yes. Now, we had one final bit of feedback from another great Double L, truly a Double P, perfect person, and hosting the Dust podcast, where we and our good friends Holly Huntpants and Double M Matt Murdock review the great new series on HBO, His Dark Materials. Holly saw all our listing of the ranking of Star Wars films, and Holly says we can all agree on the number one film because she had Empire Strikes Back number one too. And then after she watched this episode of The Mandalorian, it became Disney Plus gave her a recommendation. What to watch next? And sure enough, they recommended Empire. That's awesome.
That's great. I mean, I just wonder, who is doing that? Oh, wow. Well, that sounds interesting. Maybe I'll try that. Never heard of it, but sounds good.
Listeners, after you write us those reviews on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, please talk to us. Tell us what you thought of this premiere episode, and or if you watched this Friday, episode 2, super early, send in your feedback to us. Once again, you can talk to us in all the characters you want on Facebook, facebook.com/doublephq. That's the word double, the single letter P, then the letters HQ for headquarters. Facebook.com/doublephq. On Twitter and Instagram, we're at doublephq. Catfish, this is it. It's go time. Are you ready to jump into this first episode?
I'm ready. Let's do it. As long as you got to make one promise to me.
Yeah?
No droids.
Oh, I think you're safe for about maybe 25 minutes.
Okay, all right. I just want to let you know about I'm droidist.
Catfish, what if droids are downloading this? If you're listening to this on a droid, please keep subscribing, keep listening. We need you. Let's get right to the top. As you press play on this episode, there's the little Lucasfilm logo slate right at the beginning. But then, hey, Marvel has their intro where they flip through comic books and show all the characters. Star Wars TV created one of their own where you see these masks. You see Darth Vader, and then BB-8, C-3PO, Kylo Ren's mask, R2-D2, a Rebel pilot's mask, a speeder bike helmet, a Stormtrooper helmet, the Mandalorian helmet, and it just says Star Wars TV. This is pretty good. This is like it. We are in and ready to go. Bam, we're walking into a cantina on an ice planet, Hell yeah. What did you think of this beginning? What did you think of the opening scene in the cantina where he's got to meet some people who are really upset that he double D'd?
Double D'd?
Destroyed their drinks.
He did. My first question was, this seems like a bar that's got pretty rough trade in it on a regular basis. The owner / bartender seems a little skittish for somebody who's used to dealing with this kind of people. I don't know whether it feels almost like he was like, oh, I'm going to retire and get away. I see this bar for sale. And then maybe he's only been doing it for a week and he realizes I should not have done this, because this is not a guy who's used to dealing with tough dudes.
Let me say that if you're that bartender, you're never going to make any money. With so many grizzled, tough dudes in the cantina, it's going to be like, okay, this drink's on me. Here, this drink's on me. Whatever you do, this drink's on me.
Now, that being said, another mistake, and I don't know whether the bartender was like, what I need to do is need to put in a new door here, one that's like a sphincter, that if my patrons are either drunk or tossed through that, they might mistakenly get separated into two separate patrons. Also seems like a bad idea for a bar. But I love the subtitle. The second time I watched this, I watched it with the subtitles. And at that point, after the door / sphincter closes, cutting the guy in two, the subtitle said, "Flesh Squelches."
Also a good name for a podcast. Flesh Squelches.
Yeah. That is my second favorite thing for a flesh to do.
Can I say that they have been promoting this in a lot of the promos, this scene. He comes into the bar. These big, tough guys attack him. He takes care of them so quick. I love the guy get a good half, but then you don't really see it, but you see the shot of the Mandalorian in the distance, and then you see the bottom half, the legs fall. I thought that was so great. It's the right tone. We were talking on our preview podcast. Everybody, if you haven't heard that, please go and download that from the Mandalorian Parsec Passion podcast. But the tone is very adult. This is Disney, let's be honest. And it opens with a lot of people getting shot, a guy getting stabbed in his back, the guy who was complaining about his drink, had like some sort of threatening knife. The Mandalorian bent his arm backwards and had the guy stabbed in his back with his own knife. Then it cuts somebody in half. Once again, the 13-year-old boy, Bubba, is like, oh, hell yes.
Right. Whereas the old you is, hell mother flippin' yes.
Right, exactly. Hell adult content, yes.
The other thing that I like about this, and we talked about certain things we wanted to highlight in the podcast moving forward, but one thing that we didn't talk about, or that we didn't realize, was that they were going to make this quippy. And I really like the quip so far. So I wanted to, Bubba, add value to the podcast.
Love it.
This is going to cost the viewers this twice as much as what they were originally paying.
Oh, you bet. They better not be paying in Imperial credits.
They're not. They're paying 0.00. So I want to pitch that every episode we should focus on nominate what the best quips, and then vote on what I would like to call the most Mandalicious line of the episode. And so my first nominee for Mandalicious line is when the Mandalorian says to Mithril, a.k.a. Horatio Sands, "I can bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold." And that shows right now, we're going to get more of his personality, but right now he's just sort of a very kind of laid-back, sardonic dude. This is like Clint Eastwood and all those spaghetti westerns, the man who doesn't speak very much. It's got a very kind of Western feel to it.
Oh, yes. In some ways, I want to knock it. This is the least original story of all. But you take a typical Western story, almost beat for beat. Hey, you got to break this stallion so you can ride it. Hey, you got to go.
Exactly.
You got to pick up this. Hey, give me the toughest job. Oh, the person setting me up on this job is kind of wicked. It is so Western, it is so typical, it is not original in any way, but you put it in a completely new environment and it works so, so well.
I completely agree.
Now, Catfish, you mentioned this first bounty, this first person he picks up. I kind of saw it right a half a second before it happened when I realized, oh, this blue alien, this is the guy he's going to capture. I thought it was so great. And you're right, the Mandalorian, who we don't have a name for, we haven't seen his face, we may never see his face, he is stone cold. This blue alien is pitching stuff. Hey, I'll give you money, I'll give you this. And you look into that mask, and somehow that mask just conveys, ain't happening, dude. Loved it.
That is exactly right. We also learn that there's danger everywhere. There's danger in the bar. There's also danger right out there on the ice.
Love that as well. So you mentioned that you're a bit of a no droids. The Mandalorian could have hopped in a brand new speeder that had a built-in droid to take him to his ship, and because of his droid bias, which, this is a guess. I think it's an educated guess. So listeners, it's not a spoiler. This is me guessing. Is it possible that he hates droids because he is old enough to remember the Clone Wars where those evil battle droids were coming and doing damage? We shall have to see. I think it's an educated guess.
We do see a flashback to his childhood where obviously, again, in a very Western kind of thing, his village is raided. And so we can presume that it was droids.
How evil could it be? So let me tell you something. So the droid speeder goes away. The speeder piloted by a human comes up. It's a hunk of junk. There are pieces falling off it when it stops. That is Star Wars. That is Star Wars humor even. These guys get it, meaning Jon Favreau, and in this case, his director of Episode 1, Dave Filoni, who has done all those Disney animated shows. This is the humor. I even love when later they're on the ice, they've set up, okay, there are creatures out here, you got to be careful. And the blue alien is watching the speeder go away and go away and go away. And it's so small in the distance. And then suddenly, oh snap, something comes up from the ice and gets it. Loved that.
It's so good. And then, of course, then Mithril busts his butt into the ship. And this beast manages to nibble on the ship. Now, to me, this looked like something that you'd need to put the ship into dry dock for like a month. But apparently it didn't do too badly.
One thing, and I've looked at a couple, not too many. Once again, I think the general reaction to this episode is very positive, but I saw Daniel Feinberg, a television critic for the Hollywood Reporter, noted that in this first episode, it feels like the Mandalorian deals with some problems, not the gravest problems, but just problems. And I think that actually is by design. Here you have this monster eating his ship, biting his ship. He can't get off, and yet he handles it relatively calmly. Hey, let me get the big guns out. Okay, wait till it's cold. Zap it with electricity. Okay, we're fine. I thought that was an effective way to set up who this Mandalorian is. He isn't going to sweat much. We need to see him not sweat much on what we would assume are big problems, so that when later things happen, possibly at the end of the episode, we see, okay, now it's time to sweat. Loved it.
Well, I mean, what you don't know is like behind behind the helmet, he's literally screaming in fear. He turns on the sound damper and just goes crazy.
So, of course, this suddenly becomes Midnight Run, that great movie from the 80s with Charles Grodin and Robert De Niro, a bounty hunter bringing in an annoying bail jumper. And we go down, and this is an effective scene. You can tell this guy's trying to skirm his way out, trying to figure out a way that he can escape this fate of being turned back into police. He goes down, and then he suddenly sees, oh no. This guy carbon freezes everybody, just like Han did and was carbon froze in Empire Strikes Back. So creepy, so effective.
But we also get to see what kind of person he is, because many people in that situation, as soon as they open up the gun rack, would be, great, guns. And instead he's like, oh crap, guns. Let me close that right back up again.
Right. He really needed the vac suck? He really needed the vac suck or whatever it was, the equivalent of a refresher or a bathroom. That was very funny. Of course,
that's my pitch, by the way, for my second suggestion for the Mandalicious line of the week is when he says, I haven't evacuated since the solstice.
Well, when you got to go, you got to go.
Yeah, when you haven't gone since the last solstice, you really got to go.
13-year-old me. This is so funny. I'm so picky. I'm always so crazy. I gave this episode 9 out of 10. 13-year-old me would have said, how can he have an entire carbon freezing chamber there on that tiny ship? It doesn't matter. It's an effective mood piece. I loved it. And then we get to meet, hey, good grief. We leave the ice planet, we go to another planet, and we meet Grief Karga. Carl Weathers, the chief of the Bounty Hunters Guild, I believe. And we get the classic setup that you've seen a million times. What did you think of this little scene, Catfish?
I love it. And by classic setup, of course, is like there's not a lot to go around. And, he's going to try to... What I love is Carl Weathers screws him on the money. He offers him half. And then he says he's too expensive. It seems to me you can only do one of those two things.
Imperial credits? I don't know if you've been watching the HoloNet. The Empire is toast. What would happen? Do you know history well enough? What happens when a country falls? Does the old currency just all completely vanish? Now, this is 3 years after the Empire fell in Return of the Jedi, but I thought that was a fascinating little twist. Like,
it doesn't necessarily vanish, but it's, worth, the worth just goes down and down and down. It might be worth 1%. Now, here, however, is, and this comes up a few times during this episode, and why I docked it a little bit.
Okay.
People they've got to do better. They've got to do better. So, Grief offers to pay him in money called calamari flan, or calamari flan. So my question was, when they were coming up with names for money, did they decide that shrimp souffle wasn't good enough? So they decided we'll do calamari. We'll combine. What fish and dessert can we combine for money? They just, some of it is, in a way, I kind of have to assume it's intentional, although it sticks out a little bit too much for me. I feel like they need to do a little better.
Well, I think that's a tip of the hat back to the original trilogy. In Return of the Jedi, we keep mentioning Admiral Akbar. It's a trap! Because his head kind of looked like an octopus head or a shrimp head, they named his species in Star Wars the Mon Calamari. And so this feels like, adding flan to it is a little dessert after you've had your...
It's a step too far. That's all I'm saying. One step too far.
All right. Well, hey, this is the classic setup. Well, I got a bunch of bail jumpers. You got anything that can bring me in more money? And oh boy... The private detective, the bounty hunter, the rogue hero. This is also a bit of noir. They're stepping into a problem that they should see coming.
Right, exactly. When you just know, anybody knows that when the money is too big, the problem, it's going to bring too many big problems. But of course, since he's a bounty hunter / detective wearing a fedora, he's like, I've seen it all. I can handle it.
And it seems so far, one episode in, that he can handle it. He goes to meet this prospective client, this person who's going to hire him to do a bounty. Goes down some tunnels, that gonk droid, that goes back to the original New Hope of 1977. Just some guy in a suit wearing a droid and walking, not even wheels or anything. Love it. He's led into the room. The door opens. There's stormtroopers.
There are stormtroopers, but they look a little rough and tumble. These are not the stormtroopers we're used to seeing with their shiny white suits. These ones need to be sent out to be dry cleaned.
They've been on unemployment for 3 years. The Empire's been down.
Shine up your suits.
I should point out Werner Herzog's character has the old imperial signal of the Emperor's reign, the evil symbol on his clothes. He brings in a character called Dr. Pershing. Dr. Pershing drives me crazy because he's wearing glasses, and I'm racking my head. Has a character ever worn eyeglasses on a Star Wars movie? We've seen plenty of goggles, but eyeglasses? Can't really remember. Maybe Maz Kanata's goggles from the more recent trilogy. Maybe those come close, but it was weird. It would also, though, felt very 70s, and I know this vibe always goes back to the 70s, the decade that this show was created in. And we meet Werner Herzog's character. I don't even think he has a name. The Mandalorian may not have a name. I'm not sure Werner Herzog has a name. Dr. Pershing has a name. What did you think of our podcast inspiration, the Parsec Passion man himself? What do you think of Werner Herzog? What do you think of this tense atmosphere, Catfish?
Well, I made fun of him. Part of the reason why it was called the Parsec Passion is because of the way he says parsec. I thought in trailer number 2, everything sounded fine until he said that, and then I kind of giggled a little bit. But here, he is so. I just didn't get enough of flavor of it in the trailer. But here, he is so awesomely, amazingly, obviously evil I love it. I love every single thing he says, and that's why my next pitch for the Mandalorian line was when he says, "I acknowledge that bounty hunting is a complicated profession." And really, there's nothing about that line. It's just the way he says it. It is so delicious.
He has wonderful pauses in his lines. Yeah, it's a tour de force. And he's been doing acting. Yes, he's been a director all these years, but he claimed that his first role was back in the 70s. And this guy's great, isn't he?
He is awesome. He is awesome.
Would it shock you to know that he has never seen a Star Wars movie?
It would not shock me.
Would it shock you to know that when a reporter asked him, "Hey, were you excited to work with Jon Favreau's directing?" he didn't know any films Jon Favreau had actually directed?
It doesn't surprise me at all. The only thing that really surprises me is that he didn't pipe up and agree with Scorsese that none of the Marvel movies actually counted as movies.
You think he should have dropped that into this scene?
He should have.
Now it's going to take you a while to find him. Don't watch any of that Disney crap. So, okay,
let's filmmaking or trifles.
Catfish, let's go ahead and talk this out a bit. These guys are from the fallen empire. You assume they're still holding on to it if they're wearing stormtrooper armor, if they've got the Imperial insignia on their clothing, and they are hiring a bounty to bring back this baby creature that's like Yoda back to them. Dr. Pershing really, really, really wants it alive. Werner Herzog was like, look, we want it alive, but if it's dead, you get half pay. What could these bad guys want with a baby Yoda? Well,
the only thing that I could guess, again, we don't really know what Yodas are, and I guess they have, after it's been hidden from us for so long, they decided, well, let's blow it on this series, is that maybe the Yoda species is very, very strong in the Force.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
So they want to bring him on and bring him to the dark side. I don't know how you could with those adorable big baby eyes.
Well, wait till he hits his terrible teens. And by teens, I mean, he's been alive 1,100 years. I mean, 1,300 years, 1,400 years.
Definitely got to do a long con if that's what this baby looks like at 50.
I'm thinking like you. I'm thinking they were led by a very supreme Force user, the Emperor Palpatine. His number 2, his right-hand man, his muscle, was another big Force user in Anakin, don't call me Darth, Skywalker, Vader. And so, yeah, could it be, hey, let's find a species that is just attuned with the Force. Let's beat it. Let's treat it terribly and have it be a new leader so we can have something strong to fight up against a galaxy which actually has in its prime Luke Skywalker going. So, yeah, that seems to be where the story suggests, and I love this idea.
And then I think alternatively, if we can't secure him for us, better that he just not be alive at all.
Exactly right. So good, so exciting. The next thing we're going to do is...
Wait, hold on.
Go.
Maybe you could talk to me because you got a little background in this, is that the Werner Herzog hands him a thick, playing card, like a card deck of Beskar, which apparently is important to Mandalorians. And if he brings back the Yoda alive, he will get a whole Camtono of it, whatever the F a Camtono is.
Well, I think it begins with a C, not an F, Catfish. But so this goes to what they call expanded universe information, in that there's nothing in these main movies that's going to explain this. But if you've watched the Clone Wars, if you've read books, it kind of leads into where we're going in the next scene. But the Mandalorians came from this planet. They were a warrior culture. They wore these helmets, these masks in the warriors. And partially through the Clone Wars, partially through the Empire coming up, the idea is that this culture, these tribes, these clans, have been scattered to the wind, and their planet has kind of been ripped apart. Some people going with the Empire, some people against the Empire. And so this metal is important to them. And it is, as we're going to get to in the next scene, this means that it's this Mandalorian we're following is not really just doing this for cash. He's doing this for a reason. He needs the cash so he can help his people, a.k.a. he may be a stone cold killer, but he's a good guy.
Right. Sure. He's doing it for the right reasons. Now, quick question for you, Bubba. Is a tracking fob cheating? It feels like it's a complete cheat code. I mean, I realize that he didn't give him a lot of information, but still cheating.
This is a big galaxy. If you're just telling me go find this 50-year-old dude, remember they said, well, he's 50-year-old, he was around this. They tell you nothing else. I'm like, yeah, give me a damn tracking fob. Hello.
No, who planted the other side of it? First of all, this is amazing because obviously, as we all know, this is far, far in the past, in the galaxy far, far away. And so, which is awesome because back then they had tile trackers, and I just got my tile tracker like 3 years ago. They just finally came up with a thing to find my phones. In this old universe, apparently Bluetooth is very powerful and goes over several planets. It's very nice.
This tracking fob can reach out over 12 parsecs. Any system this 50-year-old is in, find him. So our hero has taken a job by the bad guys, by the villains, Catfish. He's got to suit up. He's got to go, and he goes to what looks like, kind of like a basement shelter for possibly Mandalorian refugees. There are a bunch of other people in there wearing Mandalorian armor.
/ Smithy shop.
Right. He hands over this down payment on the job. It seems like they used the metal to fashion him a bright, shiny new shoulder pad, but then they keep the rest to help out the tribe, to help out the clan. And so once again, he's doing it. I'm sure this will be more fleshed out as we go. I'm sure this ties into some of the things that happen in the Clone Wars and in Star Wars Rebels, but I don't want to get too deep into that for possible fear of spoilers. So just to say, I thought it was a good scene that set the mood.
I think you can answer a question without providing any spoilers. She says we should have a pauldron, and then there's a montage of like his village being attacked as a child. So my question to you is pauldron the Mandalorian word for montage, or is it just a lazy permutation of the word cauldron?
Well, it gets even better, Catfish. It's a word from our language, and guess what it refers to? Pretty much armored shoulder pads.
Oh my God. Amazing. All right, so then it's got nothing to do with a montage. I'm so sad because I thought it'd be perfect because from now on I could just sing, it's got to be a pauldron.
Well, hey, that's a good pauldron. He gets shot right on the shoulder pad later and he survives. It doesn't seem too damaged, so that's good.
Well, it is good. And also the flashback, the backstory flashback is important. It's vital for the decision he makes at the end of the episode.
That's exactly right.
Without it, that it makes no sense whatsoever at the end.
Now, Catfish, in this flashback, theoretically, that little kid is the Mandalorian. So, AKA, we've seen him without his helmet on.
Absolutely.
Do you want to claim victory in our bet from the preseason podcast?
I do want to claim victory, yes. We have seen the Mandalorian without his helmet. No, actually, I think we will see the adult Mandalorian. Not Master Mandalorian, but Mr. Mandalorian.
Okay.
He shows up right away on the planet and gets attacked by some blurrgs. Again, can you do better naming an animal rather than just some weird thing that comes at blurrg?
Now,
I've got an idea.
Hold on. The maker himself, George Lucas, allowed his then at the time, I believe, 4-year-old adopted son to come up with names like Jar Jar and Gungan. Gungan really was Gunga. So if you allow that, and you allow things like Mon Calamari, have some fun with it, sure. It's a blurrg.
Okay. And then we're going to use the same reasoning for the old mythical beast known as the mythosaur.
Well, I believe, Catfish, and we should mention this, I believe that refers to the creature that Boba Fett was riding in the cartoon that introduced Boba Fett back in the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Okay, so did they call them mythosaurs at the time?
It's possible. Let me fact check on that. But I should point out, Catfish...
to defeat these things, do you use unobtainium to stop them?
Sure, why not? But Catfish, do you not want to talk about how they mentioned Life Day? The guy at the beginning said, yeah, I haven't done this since Life Day, a.k.a. the holiday that they were celebrating on the Star Wars Holiday Special. This is great.
Amazing.
All right, so the mythosaur, I can't even say it, the mythosaur is, remember there's that skull, that skull symbol in the area where the Mandalorians walk in. That symbol is also on Boba Fett's armor, and it's on a flag outside Maz Kanata's cantina in Star Wars The Force Awakens. So that symbol we've seen a lot of, the skull, and that creature is the mythosaur.
Well, I just hope that they don't run up against the during this show, because that is a very tough beast to defeat.
Love it. And it is not the creature from the Holiday Special. So strike one for Bubba.
All right. Just wait until we find the because that is a very tough beast.
Catfish, do we want to talk about effects? This is a TV show. In our day, when we were younger, science fiction TV shows had terrible effects. Fantasy TV shows had terrible effects. Here, he's shooting flame out, but it's too late. The blurrg bites his arm. He gets free, and then it bites his other arm. And then the blurrg is shot with a dart, gets electrocuted. Do you want to talk and we can talk anywhere in the episode, but I'm thinking of it because of these blurrgs. Any thoughts on the incredible digital effects that we're seeing in a simple, quote-unquote, simple TV show?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny because having watched some of the trailers and the first couple episodes of his Dark Materials, I'm still a little concerned about the animal CGI in that show. But here, I thought the effects throughout were amazing. I mean, it just looks stunning. It puts you right in the world. There wasn't any moment where I was like, that is ridiculous, except unless someone was saying the name of something.
So he's saved from this blurrg attack by a creature known as an Ugnaught. If you remember Empire Strikes Back, the best movie in the Star Wars film legacy so far, the Ugnaughts were those little pig-like creatures who lived at Cloud City, and you saw them when 3PO almost became a pile of junk. You saw them working on the carbon freezing chamber. Here, we meet an Ugnaught. We hear one speak what they call basic, a.k.a. English, in the Star Wars universe. He's speaking basic, and it's the voice of Nick Nolte. What did you think of this helpful Ugnaught who wants somebody to get rid of all these villains who are hiding Baby Yoda on this planet? What did you think of the friendly Ugnaught and his desire for blurrgs?
I mean, first of all, Nick, if you're going to have anything of Nick Nolte, granted his face looks like something carved in granite right now as we speak. However, if you're going to use anything of his voice is amazing. You know, is it just a little insider tip for our loyal listeners? It was my birthday over the weekend, so I watched my favorite bad movie of all time, which is Gangster Squad, and he brings his delicious low rumble to that movie as well. I thought he was great. And also, Bubba, can we just say, like, if we went back to our 13-year-old selves, and I still might do it at my age, how many times do you think tomorrow, if you went to school having seen this today, you would stand up, like the teacher would ask you a question and say, how much is 2 + 2? You would say 4. I have spoken.
I would do it. I would do it every time.
So many times because it is so great. That's my last.
I have spoken.
The Mandalicious line. I have spoken.
Oh,
I mean, it is just so good.
It is wonderful. Now, I should point out, people on the Star Wars podcast that goes by the Resistance broadcast, they've termed the name for this Ugnaught. They call that the Ugnolt in honor of Nick Nolte. So, very, very funny. He brings him out to overlooking the bad guys thing. This is so much a Western, it's not even funny. Where the Mandalorian has to go in against the odds and get his target.
There is only a weird bit of dialogue here, and it was even weirder on the second run, where he takes him out there because he wants him to get rid of these bad people. And then the Mandalorian says, and after he explains that, he says, so why did you bring me out here? And I wanted him to say, I already had spoken on that.
Let me play this back from my book on tape. I have spoken.
They basically just used that as an excuse, even though he explained in detail why he brought the Mandalorian out here. And they would bring every single person who wants to kill these guys out here, just on the off chance that they might succeed. But that gives him a chance to talk about like how excited he is to see a Mandalorian. But it is still strange, a strange, just piece of conversation there.
There is a character beat in that the Mandalorian might be a stone-cold killer, but he wants to give some money. He wants to give some of these credits, possibly pointless credits or these other things, these Mon Calamari flans, to the Ugnolte, to the Ugnaught, and the Ugnaught's still like, no. You helped me catch these blurrgs. You drew them to you. I shot them and tranquilized them. We're good.
Yeah, I mean, if that'd be cool. I'd be happy to be bait for some blurrgs.
All right, now let's get to the piece of de resistance. If I was in the tank for this show, before this point, this final shootout and the final reveal are incredible. And I want to get to my favorite character in the entire episode. That's the assassin droid IG-11, IG-11. This was awesome effects, his body spinning around as he shoots people, his droid-like logic about, okay, you're going to surrender, I'm going to do this. And then my favorite bit of it all, self-destruct. So great. It was wonderful. The voice of Taika, I can't even say the guy's name, Taika Waititi. Loved it. Loved him bouncing off the Mandalorian. I thought that was a great pairing.
First of all, there's one thing you don't have to tell the IG-11 in a fight. Keep your head on a swivel.
No?
Also, he is willing. He just wants the recognition and half the money. And at first, though, he was doing like 7/8 of the work until our boy got a hold of essentially the Gatling gun and then turned the tide.
Loved it. This is tense. This is fun. You know, I've mentioned this a bit. How many red shirts, a.k.a. villainous aliens, get shot and killed in this sequence? It's insane.
It's the only time during the episode I would have liked to have seen the Mandalorian's face, just because of the reactions to the constant discussion of self-destructing by IG-11.
No, that's a good point.
Some facial reactions to that.
That's a great point, Catfish. Loved it. You know, we could go through this action beat by beat, but let's just get to it. It's perfect. It's great. 13-year-old Bubba is in high heaven. And I loved the way that they got out of the mess. You want your heroes, and he may be an anti-hero, but you want your heroes, the Mandalorian, and at this point his partner, IG-11, to show their smart, to show their resourcefulness, to overcome great odds. And the fact they do it, perfect. Cha-ching, golden.
Love it. Loved every bit of it. And then the reveal was awesome, just awesome. And so we are completely set up for this season. It feels like we have the Mandalorian is going to the tough solo guy is going to his life on the line for an innocent.
Right. He's going to go against. He's not going to turn this little baby Yoda over, and he's not going to turn it over, and then, get this money and help his people, which is his real goal. Even he has some standards. This is Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood was a stone cold killer in all those great movies like Pale Rider. But he's going to help, when somebody who is deserving of help and he can help, he's going to do it. And you're right, that's this first season. This first season is going to be the story of what happens with Baby Yoda. This show, it's going to be tough to dislike. It was only 40 minutes. Technically, if you don't take the credits, it wasn't even 39 minutes. Did you mind the fact that this was
33, 34 minutes without credits.
So what do you think? Did you have a problem with that? Do you feel like Disney Plus, give me my money's worth? I didn't mind it. Obviously, we didn't see any really female characters. We didn't meet a lot of characters. We didn't learn a lot of names of these characters other than Grief Karga. I didn't mind it. I think this was the kind of show that is going to grab everybody. It's going to get people talking. The fact that this is a streaming service, but they're not going to allow you to binge it until after they've been released week by week. I think 9 out of 10 again, once again, knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the only thing that I feel like I'm going to be disappointed so far is having to wait for the next episode and then having to wait for the next season. I mean, come on, Disney. You've got all the money. Give it all to us. We deserve it.
Catfish, do you want to talk at all about the score? I had a little bit of a problem with it on the blurrg ride from Nick Nolte's house out to the villain's little hideout. But on second watch myself, I kind of thought it was okay. What did you think of the score?
Well, I mean, I think I specifically want to talk about that in one of our last sections. So
okay, all right.
So we can do that now if you want.
Well, before we get to that, if you listen to our preview podcast, you know Catfish and I are OGs. We were young, very young, but we were still able to see Star Wars A New Hope and the original trilogy in theaters and talk about it on the playground when we were kids. So I went to my nephew Paul, and I thought, well, how would we keep mentioning, my 13-year-old self. I went to my nephew Paul, who happens to be 13, and asked him his opinion on this first episode of The Mandalorian, and let's listen to him right now. Paul, we have just watched The Mandalorian. I think you need to remind the listeners how old you are.
I'm about 13, but I consider myself 24.
Okay. Well, this Mandalorian is a new Star Wars show, and we need the teenager reaction, or if you want to, the 20-year-old reaction. What is the teenager's reaction to the first episode of The Mandalorian, Paul?
Oh, it is incredible. I love The Mandalorian already. I was so shocked, and I don't know what the heck the whole deal with the baby Yoda is, but it looks incredible. I'm wondering, what do you think about this? Does this take place before or after Return of the Jedi?
After Return of the Jedi, Paul. The Empire has fallen.
How do you know it doesn't maybe take place before the prequels? So what if the Mandalorian raised Yoda?
Oh, wow. Wouldn't that be fun? Now, Paul, let me ask you a question. A lot of people seemingly got shot with blasters and killed in this. As a young 13-year-old, 24-year-old, was it tough seeing all those nice, sweet people get shot with a blaster and die?
I don't want to put this the wrong way, but not really. I mean, I play Borderlands, and it's not like they were real people. If they were real people, I'd be crying right now, but they're not real people. This isn't realistic. Those are just blasters. It's not like they're actually being shot and killed because the Mandalorian really doesn't exist.
What? Paul, no spoilers on the podcast.
What do you mean? All I said is the Mandalorian isn't real. Who would think the Mandalorian actually exists and you can meet him?
Which character did you like the best? Did you like the Mandalorian? Did you like the robot, IG-11, who was shooting everybody up? Did you like Baby Yoda? Did you like the Ugnaught? Or did you like the blurrg, the animal that he had to ride?
Maybe the blue guy at the beginning.
Oh, he was good, yeah.
Like, I just laughed so hard at, like, all of his jokes. Or maybe the droid shooting robot. I don't know how they're going to incorporate him into future episodes, or even if they are, considering he got shot in the head. By the way, spoiler warning, edit that in at the beginning of the video.
Will the Mandalorian just turn over a baby to these bad guys who hired him?
Well, he's a bounty hunter, so probably. Boba Fett didn't seem like he really gave a crap about children or people. I mean, Boba Fett is a lot different than Mandalorians, but still. I mean, I'm just saying he frozen all those people and, like, yeah.
Paul, if you could be any character on this show in real life, you know, like imagine this was really real and not fiction. Would you want to be a bounty hunter?
I'd be a random background character because then I don't have the possibility of being shot. Or maybe I'll just be Baby Yoda. Because I don't think Baby Yoda is going to die very soon.
I don't think there were any women or female characters in this show. If there were going to be female characters, what would you want them to do?
Next question.
Well, Baby Yoda could be female. We don't know. It could be a female Yoda.
Next question. Edit out that question. I know you were just doing that to trigger me. Next question.
All right, Paul.
Can we move on to another subject?
Of course.
All right. What do you think of the minor tweak in Star Wars? What did they say again, Greedo?
Well, Paul, you are bringing up a great point. In A New Hope, which now anybody can watch anytime they want on Disney Plus, in Star Wars A New Hope, we learned today, the day that Disney Plus launched, that George Lucas, who always likes to tweak these movies, he went to A New Hope, the infamous Han and Greedo scene, and he added a very short word right before they shoot each other. We suddenly cut back to Greedo, where everything he had said before had been in subtitles. But this time they cut back to him, and he said, McClunky.
How are people reacting to this?
People are very upset.
Like how upset? Read a tweet.
I'll find one. Hold on. Here's somebody who was very frustrated, Paul. They said, I hope they keep changing the Han Greedo moment forever. Greedo shoots first. Han shoots first. They both shoot at the same time. The bartender shoots first. Han kisses Greedo. Greedo kisses Han. An extended 15-minute wedding sequence. Just keep this beep going.
Go to another one.
Here's one. The next time they re-release A New Hope, the Han Greedo scene should just end with Han dying.
Another one. Another one.
Hold on, I'm trying to find a good one. Here's one, Paul, where somebody said, nobody was saying anything. Not a single thing. Literally, not a living person in the galaxy was saying anything. Suddenly, George Lucas said, I'm going to make Greedo say McClunky.
Why are people so mad about this whole McCrunky thing? What do you think of this?
I don't mind it at all. It seems weird that you would stick this one line in, but I didn't mind it all.
I know, right? It's not that bad. I'm not gonna, super complain about it, but, McCrunky being added, that changes nothing. By the way, we might want to get started wrapping up.
All right, so how about this, Paul? Next week, we have The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. What do you think they'll do?
I have absolutely no idea.
Well, just make up a story. What do you want them to do?
The Mandalorian throws Baby Yoda onto a swamp planet, and then space alligators try to eat him right before Luke time travels back in time, saves Baby Yoda, raises Baby Yoda. That's how he gets so old in The Last Jedi. He goes back to The Last Jedi, and he's like, I've been raising my baby mentor for 15 years. I'm just gonna bottle flip this lightsaber off a cliff. He does that, and then The Last Jedi starts creating the monstrosity that was that movie. And
All
I
right.
just pulled that all out of my A.
All right, Paul. Tell everybody you'll talk to them next week.
Talk to you next week, fools.
Okay, Catfish, it is the end of our podcast, and it is time to do our segments. You have nominated a lot of Mandalicious lines of the episode, but we can only have one. There can only be one. What are you going to give it to?
For me, it's going to be the one that, honestly, that if I was hanging out with anybody who was watching this, I would just say over and over again. So it has to be, I have spoken.
Pretty damn good. I'm going to go with the one you noted right at the top, because when I watched this a second time, I was with a group of people, and when the Mandalorian himself said, I can bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold, that got some good cackles in the group I was watching with. Those are our choices for Mandalicious line of the episode. Listeners, we have these recurring segments at the end of every episode, and we're going to want you to tweet at us right on Facebook.com/PHQ. Tell us your Mandalicious lines as well as your good griefs. Good griefs we call the best thing in the episode. Catfish, what is your, for this first episode, good grief of episode 1?
So this is where I wanted. There's so many good things. I can't say that this is the best thing of the episode, but I can say that I thought it was powerful and I loved it. And so for me, the good grief was indeed the music and the score for this episode. I thought it was great, and it was spirited and evocative. And so, and a little bit different too, which I think is important. You know, we have a lot. You know, even in the other movies, you know, you've got those great songs, those themes that you hear, and so they repeat them a lot, or they do sort of riffs on them. And so for me, I thought these themes were great because they were new, but they felt of the world. So that I thought that was great.
That is a great way to say it. It doesn't really in any way feel like a John Williams score, but for me, once again, on the second watch, I really thought this is perfect. This is the exact music bed you want to put us in this world. I thought it was great.
I love it. What was your good grief of the week?
My good grief of the week is to everybody involved in this show. When you care about something so much, when it's been a part of your life so much, it's easy to be disappointed. And there's still a chance, let's be honest, who knows? Next week's episode could suddenly be a wacky return of a Jar Jar-esque character or something. But for my good grief, I won't ever go this broad, I don't believe, in the future when picking my good grief. But my good grief is to everybody involved who saw this through. This took a lot of artists working on special effects. This took a lot of thought and planning, and thank you, Disney Plus. You got my money, so that's the thanks, but I'm also going to say thank you on this first episode. But awesome. I do have a Grief's Beef. Now, Grief's Beef are where we talk about, A, something we thought in the episode needed work, could have been better, or B, a time when somebody pissed off Grief. And so I'm going to go with option B this week.
Oh, okay.
And Grief, he's just calling it like it is. He's like, listen, I lead the Bounty Hunters Guild. We do things, we have a professional standard to live up to. And these people, they're so cheap, they don't mind if it gets a little messy. Give Grief his rate. Those union dues got us weekends. That's my Grief Beef of the week.
It's really good. Yeah, apparently the guild will occasionally offer cut rate prices to its members as well. I've already mentioned over and over again my Grief Beef of the week, and that is the calamari flan, the blurrg, and the mythosaur. You know, for some people, I'm sure it delighted them and tickled them. For me, I thought in something that was so well designed and written, and everything else was top notch. Those kind of stuck out to me as like corners to be sanded down, rather than increasing my enjoyment of it. They kind of, to me, made, you know, this is a delicate process. You're creating a new world. So it kind of felt to me like they're kind of drawing attention to it by having kind of silly names. So it may work for some people. It didn't work for me.
They're going to allow Kathy to name everything, Kathy Cartoon. So next week with an alien species called the Ack Mondays.
Yeah. That would be better. Everyone wants to get paid with an Ack Monday.
For everybody here at Double P Media and at Double PHQ, my name's Bubba. You can find me on Twitter, specifically at Fit and Trim. That's FITTENTRIM, at Fit and Trim on Twitter.
And I am Catfish. You can hit me up at CJGman67 on Twitter.
And you will hear us this coming Monday as we break down episode 2 on
Parsec Passion.
Okay, the Mandalorian is left. Guys, let's lose these outfits. And good, yeah.
Jones, scrub your trooper suit down, for God's sakes.
You're embarrassing me in front of the bounty hunter. Clean your uniform, stormtroopers.
So good.